everybody. Welcome to another edition of Let's Chat with Tonya Lightbourne. I am super excited to be chatting with the amazing Lisa Sawyer-McCartney. Thank you for allowing us to take up so much of your time.
My pleasure. This has been a great day already.
I mean, we had such great energy so far
Yes.
during our session. It's been we've actually spoken to three amazing ladies as well, and Lisa is last but by no means least. And so we're celebrating women all month long with International Women's Day. So let's dive right in because this time goes by really quickly. So tell us a little bit about Lisa, the woman, the entrepreneur, the mom.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Tell us about Lisa, the
How much
woman.
time you got?
I know, right?
Lisa the woman. Lisa the woman is, I think I'm quite simple, eternally grateful. I enjoy people immensely. I love meeting new people. I love bonding with people. I love hearing people's stories. I think, I'm a hardworking woman.
Yeah. You
As
definitely don't seem to shy away from the hard work.
No, I love hard work. I love
Wow.
working because again, what I do involves people.
Mhm.
So I love every day of what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you're passionate about.
I'm most passionate, I think, beyond my family, my kids,
course.
and my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm most passionate about finding opportunities for children to
Mhm.
find themselves and to learn about who they are and to build confidence and to build character.
Yeah.
That really that excites me, and that's what I do through the schools that I run.
Mm-hmm.
Is we've tried to create an absolute utopia for children where they can feel happy and comfortable enough to be who they are, and in so doing gain confidence.
Right.
So I think I am really passionate about that.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
That's my mommy.
Lisa's mom is in the audience, by the way. And so she's,
I had an interesting upbringing. My parents were always very, very supportive.
Even
they
today.
were very, even today, yeah, no,
Mhm.
absolutely. Even today, both my parents are very, very supportive. I had a great upbringing. My parents were wise enough to allow me the space to be who I am and to support me, both my sister and I, in anything that we were interested in doing.
Mhm.
I've said on a number of occasions, I believed that great conspiracy that my parents concocted, where they said, you can be and you can do anything you want to do. I actually believed that,
Right.
and that's worked out quite well.
Yeah.
But we had a good childhood. We have our family's always been very close knit. My parents divorced when I was, I can't remember, maybe 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
But we've always had access to both of our parents, and I think they did a really good job of creating normalcy for us.
Yeah.
So I had a great childhood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about your kids.
Oh boy, they are crazy as heck.
Yeah, crazy bunch.
All three of them.
Yeah.
So I have 3 children. I have a 25-year-old. She's
Woo!
almost 25, and I'm not sure how that happened.
I was about to ask, how do you
must have
feel
been
about
3
that?
when I had her. But yes, she's 24. She'll be 25 later on this year.
Wow.
She's amazing. She's kind. She's gentle. She's smart. And she's defected to London, but we'll talk about that later. And I also have an 18-year-old who has just graduated high school.
I mean, you look 18.
She's just,
like,
thank you.
What are you
Thank
talking
you.
about?
So I have an 18-year-old that, again, she's kind, she's talented, she's adventurous, and she's just finished high school and has just started law school in London as well.
Amazing.
And I have a nutty 11-year-old who thinks he's 21 and who runs my life.
Energy on 100.
Again, super kind, giving me a run for my money in terms of his energy levels.
Yeah.
He keeps me busy. But he's a lovely boy, and our third child was actually adopted.
Okay.
So he brings me so much joy. I mean, he
Yeah.
says things like, "Mommy, thank you so much for adopting me."
Oh.
And he's just
I
the
mean,
best.
just
So he
melt
knows
my
how to push
heart.
my buttons, which is really sad because I've never been easily manipulated. But yeah, he's a great kid.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was, because I don't think a lot of people talk about it, similar to miscarriage or, anything along that line.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't talk about adoption in
Mhm.
the Bahamas. What was that like in a nutshell? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it emotional?
We adopted Kale, so he was an international adoption. We adopted
International.
Kale
Okay.
through the United States.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy
Mhm.
because obviously you're dealing with human beings, so there were quite a bit of requirements that we needed to fulfill before we could adopt a baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a difficult process in terms of just the amount of paperwork and the
Yeah.
amount of, I mean, I had to fly to Florida several times for FBI checks and things along those lines.
Ah,
We had to sign paperwork to allow the Department of Children's Services, I think it's called. We had to sign papers that they could turn up at our house from Florida anytime.
Yeah.
So they did come. They came 3 times to our house, just completely unannounced, to
Randomly.
see kind of if we were some weird, crazy people. And so it was quite a process.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I mean, I'd do it again in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. It was just one of the best decisions we've ever made.
Yeah. And he instantly, like, once everything was completed and you were able to move forward with that process, was there a transition between?
Well, we were fortunate because we had been we went through an agency, so we had been matched with a birth mother while she was pregnant.
Gotcha.
So when Kale was born, he was premature and he had to stay in hospital for a month.
Okay.
But the arrangement was, though, that we would take him as soon as he was able to be discharged from the hospital. I say it was a bit of a blessing that he stayed in hospital because Florida law, I think it's something like 5 days or something, where the birth mother can't sign away her parental rights. So she can change her mind in those 5 days, but once she signed the paperwork, it's irrevocable.
Wow.
So he was in hospital, which is great because we had a bit of a scary moment where she wasn't sure, and so it was a bit of a process, but again, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember when my husband took photos of your family, and it was so perfect.
I remember he was a mischievous baby, and he kept pulling Brand's pocket piece out. I remember that, and we all laughed.
And he captured that.
They're like perfect, and then all of a sudden the pocket piece is gone again. So he's always been a bit of a, he's been inquisitive and fun and cheeky.
Yeah. That's amazing. What has been your greatest accomplishment with regards to parenting?
My greatest accomplishment, I think, raising 3 children that are kind and empathetic. For me, that's
a huge feat.
Really important that they are kind children, that they have a good heart. And I can say with confidence that the 3 of them, they're very, very kind. We were at the food store the other day, and my youngest, he's a bit of a money monster.
Yeah.
So he gets an allowance, and he saves his money, so he tucks it away. I don't know where he keeps it.
Yeah.
And there was a lovely gentleman playing the saxophone the other day, and he said to me, he said, "Mommy," he said, "can we go home and get something, and I'd like to come back?" And we went home and we got something, and I came back to the food store, and he bought some change. He wanted to give some change to the gentleman playing the saxophone. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Aww.
And so my kids they're very they care a lot about other people, which I think is a super cool quality.
Yeah, because my next question was going to be, how do you instill confidence and or kindness in kids in 2021?
Again, through example. I try to set a good example for them. Confidence is an interesting thing because one of my kids is less. 2 of my kids are not as confident as I would have thought they would have been.
Yeah.
And it's very, very interesting because I often say, oh my gosh, I raised them under exactly the same circumstances. I don't understand. But we're all different, and
Yeah,
we have to
absolutely.
appreciate the fact we have to appreciate our differences.
Mhm.
So what I do is I find as many opportunities as I can to affirm who they are as
Mhm.
people,
Yeah.
and hopefully that that helps them, and also just set the right examples in terms of being kind and caring about people, looking people in the eye,
Mhm.
being present with others.
Yeah. Because we're in a, I mean, technology is just taking over.
Yes.
We're that much more connected,
Yes.
but we're so that much more removed from each
Oh,
other, or we
yes.
can be that
Yes,
much more removed from
definitely,
each other, right?
definitely. Mhm.
Yeah. And so you are a huge advocate, just through our conversations, you are a huge advocate of emotional fortitude
Oh, yes.
and like building character.
Oh, yes.
So tell us a little
100%.
bit about that.
I just in my you know in my history throughout my years, I've just noticed how important it is, and I guess it's been true for me as well. I've noticed how important it is to be emotionally strong.
Yeah.
It really helps you to navigate life's challenges.
Mhm.
If you think about it, if we're practical and we're sensible and we think through what we perceive to be a challenge, and we maybe sometimes look at it from a different perspective,
Mhm.
we find that we can navigate that a lot better.
Yeah.
I always say to my kids, I said, nobody comes to the end of a situation and says, oh, I really wish I didn't think that through so carefully and make that really
Yeah.
great choice.
Nobody does
But
that.
we always say, oh, I really wish I didn't lose my temper and I didn't react or respond the way that I did. So I always encourage my kids, and I do this all the time, I always encourage my kids to think through their actions, think through their decisions, and
Mhm.
understand that there is a ripple effect to everything that
Right.
we do, and just make sure that that ripple effect, as far as you can see it, make sure that that's actually where you want to be or where you want to go.
Yeah. That's powerful. That is powerful.
Sensible.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like if you think through
Oh yeah.
what your reaction was
Oh,
to
yeah.
somebody, I don't know, doing
Mhm.
something to you,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I can either like fly off the handle,
Yes.
become a firecracker and get all my emotions
Mhm.
out and burn all that energy, or I
Mhm.
can just say, okay, you know what? You did that.
Yes.
Why would they have
Yeah.
possibly done that?
Mhm.
Could I have contributed to the outcome being
Mhm.
different? And yeah, let's just try and
Yeah.
have a kumbaya moment and actually
I
work through
always
this.
tell my kids that do not, your value is not attached to what somebody else does. Like it doesn't matter. Your value is not attached to what someone else does. People make choices because they make choices.
Yeah.
And this notion of, oh my gosh, I feel so badly because she doesn't love me anymore, or because
Mhm.
he did this or he said that. He said that, but that has nothing to do with who I am inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like to help my kids get to the point where they're unaffected by the negative,
Mhm.
like any negative.
Yeah.
And just and my daughter says, Mommy, I think you're crazy.
I know.
Because I said to somebody the other day, somebody said, well, what do you find, you're always smiling, what do you find
Yeah.
offensive? I said, you know what, you really can't offend me. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I think about it, if you for some reason you dislike me,
Yeah.
then you dislike me. I'm okay with that because you're an individual. It is what it is. But
Like-
I can't. I do my best. I give
Mhm.
100% to everything I do.
Mhm.
I live authentically,
Mhm.
and there is nothing else I can do.
That's it.
So I think we sometimes, I try to encourage my children at school to understand how you potentially affect other people,
Mhm.
and just be very careful of that, and also to be careful to give value to things that have a tendency to affect you.
Yeah.
Just try not to give value. I don't give value to things that it just doesn't matter. Right?
And then a lot of things come back to confidence, yes?
Yes, definitely.
So you
Definitely.
it's almost like for me, like I have a 13-year-old and it's an uphill battle. Like
Mm-hmm.
where she was at 10 years old and
Mm-hmm.
us starting to have that conversation
Mm-hmm.
is that it pales in comparison,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now. So just the other day I said to her, okay, well, it's cold. Okay, you can't wear your jacket or your blazer. You can't wear your jacket or your hoodie. So you have your blazer. It'll keep
Mm-hmm.
you warm. And she's like, nobody else
Where's,
wears that.
you know,
And and so I said, but it doesn't matter that anybody else doesn't wear it. And she wore it.
mm-hmm.
And so, we tried it on the night before. We made sure that she had on the right shoes that went with it, blah, blah, blah. So she felt fine
Mm-hmm.
going. And then she, of course, because they have access to iPads now, so she
Mm-hmm.
can message me. So she said, Mommy, do you know Neil said, hey, what's up with the blazer? I said, what did you say? She said, I didn't say anything. I just kept it moving. I said, well, you can do that, or you could have said, well, it's my blazer and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, she said, Mommy, I'm not you.
I know. My oldest daughter, one of the teachers called me when she went off to high school. And one of the teachers called me one day. She said, your daughter, I heard the most beautiful thing. She said, I was in the closet doing some work and some kids came into the classroom. And one of the girls said to her, Kasia, you have to stop being such a goody two-shoes if you want to fit in around here.
Oh.
So she said, without even thinking about it, she turned to the young lady and she said, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't raised to fit in. I was raised to stand out.
Absolutely,
and so
Dr. Seuss.
the teacher literally called me on the phone and she said, it was brilliant because I do find, and now that we have a high school,
Yeah.
I'm so amazed at, and this is my next thing that I'm trying to figure out, is how to crack this code.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so amazed at how children, and most of these kids, a lot of these kids I've had since they were 2 or
Right.
3 from the Meridian.
Mm-hmm.
And we started this high school, and of course, what happens at high school is we get a lot of kids from everywhere. So it's
Right.
not these aren't the same group of kids that have
Yeah.
been together since they were 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen kids. So we do at the Meridian School, we do an assembly every Friday morning where every child, I mean, we just have a ball and we talk about life and they raise their hands and they participate. And well, we don't do it now because COVID had different plans
Yeah.
for us. But
Mhm.
so I'd see these kids who'd stand up and they want to answer questions and they really get involved. And when we got to the high school environment, they get up to the high school environment, suddenly they're all sitting there like,
Right. Like, I don't.
and I'm like, wait, what's going on? And
Yeah.
I realized that then they become aware of other people.
Yeah.
And that's a code I'd like to crack. Like
Yeah.
I'm working on
Well, let me know when you
working
crack the
on
code.
building confidence in
Yeah.
preteens and teens,
Yeah.
because that's when they become very, very self-aware.
Very
And I
much
think
so.
my personal thought is, again, because our kids aren't taught to be responsible about the way that they communicate with each other,
Mm-hmm.
they hurt each other's feelings. And I don't know that they oftentimes mean to,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just so opinionated.
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place and there's a way in which to share your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the way that
No.
we see it all on Facebook. And I look through Facebook very rarely and I see some of
It's
the
heavy over
comments
there.
and I just want to start preaching. I'm like, you know what? You're being so irresponsible
Mhm.
to mankind
Like reckless.
by speaking the way that you speak.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to understand the way we have a tendency to affect some people.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, children are different.
Mhm.
So not everybody is able to. And I'm so happy that, like I said, I believe the conspiracy that my parents shared with me, that
Right.
I was invincible and I could do, I
Anything.
could do anything I wanted to do and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody has that in them. And it's just so sad when others contribute to their demise.
Yeah.
And it's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
No. So let me know when you crack that code.
I'm working on it.
Woo, yeah.
I'm working. What I started doing pre-COVID was I would take kids out to Starbucks,
Mhm.
the teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just invite a couple of kids from different age groups,
Yeah.
and we'd go buy them. I'd buy them Frosties, and we'd sit down and we'd talk about life. And
Right.
you cannot imagine how many parents called me up and said, "Oh my gosh, Lisa, thank you so much. My kid, he or she is getting it. Like they get it. They understand They understand what it is that you're saying to them, their responsibility to others, but they also understand their value. So that's something that I'd love to work up the potion where I can get every child to understand their value and understand that nobody on this planet has a right to degrade who you are or a right to make you feel small, because it just is not so.
Yeah. I mean, the next question I'm going to ask you is when you're writing a book.
I can't write. I can't even read now.
Or have someone
I listen to audiobooks, which is really sad.
Sometimes that's what happens. You would be surprised.
Yeah.
Those authors out there.
I love speaking more than I like writing. Like again, pre-COVID, I had the opportunity to visit with girls groups, schools, and things along those lines. And I love, again, I don't think I'd be a great writer.
Yeah.
But I love talking to people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Either
which is why you're here.
Yeah. I love it.
For this conversation, these informal sessions. So I think that you have successfully cracked the code on entrepreneurship in education, which a lot of people don't talk about. You hear about the saturated industries. Not that education isn't, but they're the hairstylists and the nail technicians and the massage therapists and just everything, accountants, everything, photographers, all that good stuff. But education is one I want to say that may be required to have a little bit more, like it has to be well done, or it should be well done rather. And so I feel like you've successfully conquered that.
Thank you.
If there's a goal or a destination, but you've definitely set the bar.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to someone who is looking to, whether they've done the teacher's ed and all the courses required for that, because you can be book smart, but in a lot of instances you have to be street smart, meaning you would have had to have the experience, etc., etc. What advice would you give to that young lady or young man who wants to pursue a career through entrepreneurship in education?
First of all, the stakes are extremely high.
Especially now,
one
right?
chance. Just in general.
Just in general,
but
okay.
Particularly, the stakes are very, very high. If you are not deeply, deeply passionate about student success, don't bother.
Like, don't do it.
Don't bother. You must be deeply passionate about the performance and the success of your students. If you are, and you are caring and you are nurturing, then 2 thumbs up. I 100% encourage you to
and that's
to get
just
started.
To start.
That's just to start. Yes. I would 100% encourage anybody that's interested. I do believe that we have there is a market for more successful schools on the island. I have shared on boards of other schools, of other schools. I've helped other schools. I've joined forces with other schools to, just for the greater good at the end of the day. I believe that if we share our resources, we create more strong schools in the country, then it strengthens our country, it strengthens our community. So it's a win-win. I went to a new business the other day and I had words with one of the partners at the new business, because it was a beautiful new business, and the words that I was doing a tour, and the person said, well, we're going to close down every other business like this on the island. So I said, wait,
but why would you want to do that?
So I said, wait. I said, you said what? And I wanted to be sure that I heard what he said. He said, yeah, we're going to close down every other type of business on the island. And I said to him, now, why would you want to do that? And he says, well, because we're big and we're fancy and we're blah. And I said, well, can you accommodate everyone that wants to use this service in the Bahamas? Can you accommodate everybody that needs this service? And he's like, well, no, but I'm like, so just think about it. I said, I'm making it up. I said, suppose 50,000 people here use this service. If 50,000 people show up tomorrow at your doorstep, are you going to be okay with that? And he's like, well, I was like, just think about it. I said, you said it, you put it out there in the universe. Let's think about where this goes.
Right.
I said, and then somebody like me, I said, I'm not going to come because I'm not coming to a place that's jam-packed and crowded, and you probably won't be able to manage the people. And so he started.
And you're new on top of everything else.
So he started to think about it. And I said, listen, let me just give you a little bit of advice. there's room at the table for everybody.
Everybody.
And if you start out with that attitude, somebody like me, I said, now, I was going to support you. I said, but I'm going to go support a little guy because I just feel that I should do that. I said, you know, I might add, you might want to share your resources, share your ideas with people around you, and you will then create a better product.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to learn to share our resources. We need to share our ideas. We need to understand that, you know, they call it the Bahamian black crab syndrome.
Yeah.
We need to understand
we need to hoard everything.
So destructive. It is so destructive. You go out there. When I started school, I welcomed other schools. I called other schools to come in. I said, let's work together.
Yeah.
But my point is, what I did was I started school and I woke up every day with the intention of serving the customers that came to the best of my ability.
Right.
I give 100% every day to every student. You notice.
Yes, yes.
So 100% to every student. And that's fine. That's brilliant for some children. That doesn't work for some children.
Right.
And I understand that. I'm not the absolute end all of schools and be all of school. There's no one fix for everybody. So the sooner we understand that, the sooner we'll be able to work together and we'll be happy. I find as Bahamians too, we're not very happy when others are successful for some reason. And I'm not sure what that one's called.
That is crazy.
But
that's what it's called.
We can't celebrate with other people. There are about 4 schools that have come out of the Meridian School.
Yeah.
Teachers or teachers assistants who worked with me who said, you know what, Miss Lise, I think I want to start a school. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do I think? Amazing. I see your work ethic. I think you would do fantastically well.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I think we need to start, again, using emotional intelligence in in the way we think, in the way we process, in the way we conduct our day-to-day business.
Yeah.
And it helps us all, right?
It totally does. It totally. I mean, this is
we
a
digress.
mouthful. She's just dropping all these gems. So in our last segment, I guess we can call it, you recently went through a divorce, and your kids have obviously been. I don't know if you totally acclimate. I've never been through that situation.
I don't know if you totally acclimate. No, I don't think you do.
But let's talk about co-parenting a little bit. How has that been for you?
As time passes, it gets better for me. In the beginning, I used to be gutted when my kids would sleep in a different house than I was in.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that was really hard because I stumbled on the whole school thing because of wanting to provide something for my children.
Yes, something different.
So my thing was, when I started school, I said, I'm going to create what I feel is a wonderful environment for children, for my babies. And if you want to bring your babies along to have some fun, bring your babies too. So that's everything I've done has been with my children in mind. Like when I started thinking about having kids and what that meant, I took that very, very, very seriously.
Yeah.
And so for me in the beginning, the hardest thing was having my kids sleep somewhere where I wasn't, and I couldn't tuck them in. And that was really, really hard for me. But of course, there were other emotions that were at play at that time.
Right.
I was newly separated and, so I had to think it through carefully, but that was very difficult. Now things are much, much better.
Yeah.
I welcome the time that they spend with their dad because I understand again how fragile life is.
Yeah.
And I said to someone the other day, I said, it's silly of me. It would be silly of me to separate them from their dad or to create a problem with their dad. And heaven forbid I fall down dead one day.
Yeah.
And they only have daddy left. So I would never ever think of, separating them or disenfranchising daddy or any of that stuff. So that was really hard.
Yeah.
But now it's great because I love the relationships that the kids have with their dad. And I was one of these, when we separated, I had always said there will never ever be a situation where I'm going to play games with my kids and their emotions.
Right.
So our rule has always been, wherever you want to sleep, you sleep there. Like wherever you want to go, you go there. So we had to establish some sort of a structure with my son because, He's creative.
Boys and
So
boys.
we had to schedule structure with him, and you know, he did a couple of courses of therapy, and the therapist said, well, actually, for a kid like Kale, he needs structure.
Right.
So we decided then he'd spend the weeks with me because, like, you know, the homework and all that good stuff. And then on Friday, he gets to go have fun with daddy for the
Right.
weekend. So it
Fun
just
daddy.
works.
The fun parents.
Yeah, it just works. It just works.
Yeah.
So he stays for the week with me, and then he goes on the weekend with his dad. Our 18-year-old, she kind of flip flops back and forth.
Yeah.
As she sees fit. And during the summer when it's not school, Kale kind of flips forward back and forth. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I think that's really good because they never felt. I didn't want them to feel guilty about having a relationship with me or having a relationship with dad. And again, I think, you know, all of that significantly impacts them psychologically. And I've seen it because I run school. So I've seen children go from confident, happy, thriving to, oh my goodness, I just want to hug this kid.
Yeah.
You know, because grade slipping, just self-esteem slipping just because of what mom and dad are going through, and because of the words that they hear mommy using or the words that they hear daddy using, and that's their value is attached to who we are. So if Brian decided he was going to call me horrible names, that would hurt our kids. Likewise, if I decided I was going to call him names, that would hurt the children. So we've always been really careful to make sure that we nurture sensible relationships with the kids.
Yeah, I know, because you're a huge advocate of, you know, if in particular, if anything is going awry with kids, like therapy is an absolute outlet.
100.
Because we don't like to talk about that.
No, 100%. Listen, I've always had, and in my next life, I'm going to be a therapist. I've always had a couch in my office.
Yeah.
Because I realized very, very quickly how often children just need to talk. Like, they just need to talk.
Yeah.
You know,
with
I
no
remember,
advice, no rebuttal.
Yeah. And they
talk.
just want to be heard. And if you're going to give them advice, we have to give them sensible advice too. So it's really important that, you know, if a child comes to you and is seeking advice, we have to be careful about what we're saying to children as well. Yeah. And so I remember a young girl coming to my office and kind of throwing herself on the couch, and she's like, "Oh, Miss Lisa." So she started talking about, you know, the whole boyfriend thing, and, you know, my boyfriend doesn't. And I'm like, listen, I promise you, in 10 years from now, this will mean nothing. And
Absolutely
so we had this conversation.
nothing.
She's like, well, did you ever get your heart broken? I was like, tons of times. So she's like,
and I'm
really,
still
Miss
here.
Lisa? So she's like, and how do you? And I'm like, let me show you how. And so it's amazing. Like, sometimes kids just need to talk, you know, but I am a big proponent of therapy. I've done therapy myself. I actually did and you're right, there's a bit of stigma in the Bahamas. I ashamedly used to fly to Florida for counseling when I initially when I split with Bran, because I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody in my business, and you know. But it's really important to be able to speak with somebody again who's going to impart wisdom and who's going to give you sensible advice. I mean, we'd broken up for about 8 months before any of my friends knew, and the reason was I didn't want, oh my gosh, you should this or you should that. I wanted to be sure that I was thinking it through and I was processing sensibly, and I wasn't using anybody else's perspective of what was happening to make my decisions. So I wanted to make sure that my decisions, I had to own the decisions that I made, and I can only do that, you know. So I didn't want it to become, you know, a thing with them, because you know, we'd like to get involved, right?
You need to do this.
So I'd go see my little therapist,
no.
and I'd say, well, so this is how I'm feeling, what do you think? And he's like,
and it was a trip.
Got it. And it was a trip, and there was Marshalls and Target
and shopping. Shopping. Awesome.
God, I miss Marshalls. But anyway.
So our last question is, what will you never take for granted again? Is it a trip? Is it a plane ride?
Oh boy. We don't have enough time to go into that.
One thing.
I think the important thing is people. Like, I really miss hugging people. Like, I miss, hey, how are you? I really, really, really miss that.
Yeah.
So,
are you an ambivert? Introvert, extrovert?
I'm an extrovert.
Do you draw energy from people?
No, I think I give energy.
You give energy.
I think I give energy.
You really give energy. Because you can walk in a room the
I
welcome
do give
center.
energy. Yeah. No,
And
I
you're
like that.
Hi,
Like I like
and
that.
it's like sunshine just walked in the
Yeah,
room.
I like
oh
that.
my
I like that.
goodness.
I just I love people who are bright, but I also like people who are, like my favorites are the kids that come to me that are like they're not sure, and because I love that when they leave they're like,
Oh,
So yeah, I love.
awesome. It was great having you.
It was great being here.
Lots of gems. All sorts of stuff dropped. I'm
Thank you,
sure
thank you.
the team they look like, oh my gosh, this is the woman that walked in?
This crazy woman.
She has a lot to say. Wow.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This has been amazing.
Thank you.
So Lisa has celebrated our first International Women's Day here on Let's Chat with Tonya Lightbourne. I'm so happy that you were here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, this replay will be available on YouTube. It'll be available, but the highlights will definitely be on Instagram. Join us, watch it, share it, tell your girlfriends, tell your boyfriends, tell your husbands. We are here. Join us again, same time, same place. Take care. Hey guys, you made it to the end of our video. If you'd like to reach out, email us at letschat@tonyawilliamslightbourne.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more exciting sessions. Cheers!